afternoon. I'm Jessica Kim from the University Career Center, and I wanted to welcome everyone, employers, and the Charlotte community. So this is the Career Center's Niner Diversity Panel event. This is a student panel and employer audience event. We are in the third year. This year's theme is Unity and Diversity, Navigating Challenges, Celebrating Differences. Today, we gather not only as members of our esteemed university community, but also as partners in fostering a workplace and society where diversity is not only celebrated, but embraced as a cornerstone of success and progress. In an increasingly interconnected and diverse world, the ability to navigate the complexities of identity, confront challenges, and celebrate differences is essential for fostering inclusive environments where all individuals can thrive. As employers and recruiters, you play a pivotal role in shaping the future workforce. A workforce that reflects the rich tapestry of perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences present in our society. UNC Charlotte stands as a beacon of diversity and inclusion where individuals from diverse backgrounds come together to learn, innovate, and lead. Today's panel serves as a platform to showcase the resilience, creativity, and talent of our students as they share their insights and experiences navigating the challenges of diversity in the workplace and beyond. As employers and recruiters, you understand the value of diversity in driving innovation, enhancing problem-solving capabilities, and fostering a culture of excellence within your organizations. By embracing the principles of unity and diversity, you not only empower individuals to bring their authentic selves to the workplace, but also cultivate environments where everyone feels valued, respected, and supported. Today's discussion is not only an opportunity to learn from one another, but also a call to action, to challenge biases, break down barriers, and create pathways for equitable opportunities for all. By working together, we can build a future where diversity is not only celebrated, but leveraged as a competitive advantage in a rapidly evolving global landscape. So without further ado, I invite you to join us in welcoming our brave student panelists and engaging in dialogue that transcends boundaries and fosters understanding. Together, let us celebrate the beauty of our diversity and commit ourselves to building inclusive workplaces and communities where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. So now I would like to introduce our employer alum panelist, Sam Pantorath.
Thank you, Jessica. First off, just thank you everyone in the audience for joining us today. I know it's a pretty ugly day out there, but this event would not be a thing without your attendance here, so thank you very much. Also, I would like to thank Jessica Kim and her team for organizing this event. I think this is a great thing that we're doing at the university. Not only does it impact UNC Charlotte, but it does impact the surrounding community as well, so thank you for that. And lastly, I would like to thank the student panelists for obviously being brave enough to come up here and share your thoughts and your opinions on issues and matters regarding diversity. So thank you to the student panel. So without further ado, I guess we can begin. Let's start with introductions, I suppose. From the furthest on down, we'll start with you. And we'll just go on down and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hold on, let me turn on the microphone real quick.
First things first, hey, how's everybody doing today? Hey, how y'all doing? I like to talk to people. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to be real awkward. But yeah, my name is Tyler Jackson, also known as TKJJ. And the reason why I'm here today is because I got an email from Miss Kim and she told me to come, so I said I might as well. I'm playing. So the reason I'm really here is because I think that it's very important for not only student voices to be heard, but for employers to also understand what employees that they're going to get. So I think that learning about different cultures and learning about different ethnic groups as well as learning about people's differences, especially with our generation coming up, it's very important for employers not only to foster a working relationship, but also to build a community of people that can further and grow just the world in general. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, is this on? I think so. Hi everyone, I'm Kiara, and I am here because I luckily met Miss Jessica at a diversity-centered career fair, and she saw something in me, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And I'm here mainly to talk about the importance of disability inclusion, not only from a disabled perspective, but also from a how it helps other people perspective, because diversity helps everyone, even if you aren't necessarily part of those minority groups. So I'm definitely here to talk about how we can help everyone by also focusing on helping a specific group. And thank you all so much. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily. I'm a senior here at UNC Charlotte studying accounting, and I'm here to talk about religious inclusivity in the workplace, specifically as it pertains to Jewish students, and exploring debunking our preconceived notions about religious inclusivity in the workplace and stereotypes on Jewish people. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jade Rattler. I'm a freshman here, and the reason why I'm here today is, well, Jessica came to my class one day to talk about this in general, and I was in my Women's General Studies class, and during that time I was writing a lot of pieces based off of my heritage. So I am Native American, I am from the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and so really I just wanted to talk more about that because not a lot of people know, and yeah, thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Alexandra Degernes, and I was, like everyone, invited to participate at this panel. I'm here today because I do think I represent a diversity, and as a nonprofit leader, as a person who works with hundreds of Eastern European professionals, immigrant professionals, and business owners here in Charlotte, I see their stories, I hear their challenges, so I'm here today to share a little bit details on my story and a little bit more information on the stories of those Eastern European immigrant professionals and business owners in Charlotte.
Thank you very much, students, for the introductions. Is this mic still on?
If you need mine, you can have mine. I got you.
Testing. Okay, we're good. As I was saying, thank you to all the students for those awesome introductions. Can we get another round of applause for the student panel? Just really quickly, I kind of want to gauge the audience here. Can I get a show of hands to see who are the representatives from the employer side? Okay, looks like we got 70-30 employer and students, I'm guessing. So once again, thank you very much for attending. I guess we should just dive right into the questionnaire. Is there an order we want to go in, or should I just randomly pick somebody? Or do we have volunteers? The man with the mic, how about you? Tyler, I like you, you're charismatic. All right, Tyler, you ready? Yes, sir. All right. Question number 1. Who has influenced your career options, and how did you pick your career path?
Absolutely. So, first things first, when I was a young boy, I used to always go down to South Carolina with my granddad. He really influenced my career path because just seeing him work hard. He had his own construction company, being able to, do his own thing. And in a time where, he did not have his own high school diploma at the time, but he started his own construction company. So being able to understand the value of hard work and knowing that whatever you do is more important that you work hard and you try your best to build steady connections and do things the right way, that really influenced me. And it's really important for me in the workplace because I believe regardless of any opportunity that I get, any opportunity that I have gotten, the biggest thing that, made me really stand out to certain people was my work ethic. And it wasn't a me versus you mentality, it's always a me versus me. what can I improve on, how can I establish a better working environment with my fellow employees, as well as staff. So just being able to understand that, you know, when it comes to diversity, the biggest thing, regardless of what you look like, regardless of your ethnic background, if you work hard and you achieve the job, more than likely you'll be able to succeed in whatever role you're in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just to kind of chime in on that, I know we talk about diversity kind of in the workplace, and more or less fair versus unfair treatment. I mean, obviously we come from different backgrounds. You look at the student panel up here, we are predominantly, you know, considered the minority, if we were to look at it in that light. Not knowing if, I don't know if this is the proper venue to be speaking on that, but there will be challenges. I've been in industry for over a decade now. I've worked for small companies, I've worked for Fortune 500s, Fortune 100s, and I've seen challenges for, if I can say, people like us. I had a mentor throughout my career who always stressed, hey, look at yourself in the mirror. I'm not trying to knock you down, but for some reason, we gotta work harder than everybody else. So that kind of stuck with me. I mean, I don't want to play roles or choose sides, but I did understand that, hey, sometimes being who we are and kind of our background, we do have to try extra hard, or, you know, do the extra stuff where no one sees, just to be relevant in the workplace. So do you feel like kind of your upbringing and your environment that kind of molded you to the person you are today? Obviously, you know, growing up, you know, around your grandfather and kind of instilling that work ethic in you, do you feel like you'd be in a different place if you weren't raised in that fashion?
Absolutely. Biggest thing about diversity for me, man, is that my grandfather, like, he led by example. So the biggest thing, like, it didn't matter what color the person was, it didn't matter how much money they had. He grew up in a small town, and he basically, like, he fixed people's houses for free a lot of times. They said that they didn't have the money, he just took their word for it. And just understanding that, and even from my background, I know you want to speak on Jewish rights, of course, but me being Muslim, like, you know, it's a thing for us to say, like, a black man isn't above white man, a white man is above black man, or nobody is any different than anybody else. You just treat everybody the same. So my biggest thing on that is that the work ethic should be put ahead of the way that somebody looks. The work ethic, the way that they can, you know, navigate and do certain things, the abilities that they have and that they possess should be highlighted more. So in my eyes, like, if I didn't grow up like that, if I didn't have that mentality of it was never about anybody's race, it was never about anybody's color, and it was more so about people's creed and people's character, I would definitely be a different person than I am today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tyler. I guess we can just go down the line. Kiera? So for you, Kiera, the question is, can you share your thoughts on the importance of disability inclusion in the workplace and how employers can create an environment that supports the needs and contributions of employees with disabilities?
Yeah, of course. Well, for one, disability inclusion should be common sense. It's 2024, respectfully. But it's also a matter of, it's so ingrained in our society as a general that in order for you to truly include disabled people in a way that we should have been included since the beginning of time, is you have to also unlearn a lot of things, such as, oh, it's going to cost more to include us because we need to add in certain things. Well, yes, but there are so many benefits that come in with putting an elevator into your building that only has 2 floors, putting a ramp into the front, putting in more spacing between, like, aisles in your store, things like that. I actually worked at Ulta Beauty. I was one of their associates, and the unfortunate thing is that over there, they have 2 different sections of the store. One is the drugstore section. Those are the aisles that are 3 feet apart from each other, hundreds of products per aisle. And then they have the prestige section, which are the nicer aisles, like 5 to 6 feet between each aisle, lots of, like, you know, pretty colors and lights, and that more expensive section of the store was more accessible than the other section that most of our customers go to. So, for the most part, I was sitting there in the corner doing my own thing, waiting for a customer to come by so that I could help them get the products that they needed if they are able to afford those more expensive products. But besides that, I would have to like say, yeah, go down that aisle, halfway down is where the product will be, sorry I can't come with you. And most of the other employees also complained about the lack of space in those areas, because when it comes to any retail store in general or any business in general, now with, you know, Gen Zers, we prefer more space. We usually prefer teamwork. Unless you prefer, you know, doing your own thing, overall, we want more human interaction. And for me, it's like, oh yeah, sure, please come over here, look at these nice products, even though you might not even be able to buy them. So I usually try to emphasize how people that are able-bodied can benefit from disability inclusion, because it's a matter of comfort, physical and mental comfort, and also just in general making everything more accessible, period. Like, especially at UNC Charlotte, this place is freaking awesome. Like, we have the paratransit system. And even though this isn't necessarily a workplace, I'm still here to do work. I'm still here to go to classes. I'm still here to, you know, hopefully graduate with a bachelor's degree. And the paratransit is a system where I, as a disabled person, can schedule for a van to pick me up from my dorm and take me straight to class. No buses, no interruptions, nothing. And I have heard so many students talk about how they have also benefited from the system meant to benefit disabled people. In case they get an injury and they're on a boot and scooter, they can use the paratransit to also get to their class for the 5 months that they're unable to walk on their own. And it's just a matter of, I keep trying to not center myself, because intersectionality is also a huge thing. I'm not going to have the same experience as another person with the exact same disability as me. So it's trying to find out how to advocate for myself, but also for other people. So if you do have a potential disabled employee, or if you do have a disabled employee, listen to them and what they need directly, instead of just going online and doing some research and making assumptions. Because it's important that you hear our actual words and you understand what we actually need, instead of just trying to figure out how you can get by with the bare minimum, which most of you don't do. If you're here today, you're already doing above the bare minimum. But it's a matter of stores, accessibility, how was the building built. So just try to listen to us and include us and understand that there are so much more things that affect our ability to work and what we need in order to work well than just our disability. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you for sharing your story, and also just thank you for being here today and talk about kind of your experiences in a lot of the things that you've been through and the challenges that you faced just throughout life. Just somewhere in your handbook about, you know, disability and inclusion, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we always talk about either race equality, gender equality, religion, but I don't think disabilities get highlighted enough. So once again, Kara, thank you for sharing your story with us. And hopefully it resonates with some of our audience members. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next down the line we have Lily. And the question for you, Lily, is, how do you believe employers should recognize and accommodate religious diversity in the workplace?
All right, so I would like to start off by thanking Jessica Kim and the Career Center for organizing this event and recognizing religious inclusivity as a dimension of diversity, when oftentimes it's not. Today, I speak from my experiences as a Jew. I think it's really important to note that different than other religions, Judaism isn't specifically just a religion. It's also an ethnicity. For example, when I go to the doctor, if you were to do a DNA test, I would come back as Ashkenazi Jew. So throughout history, society has identified Jews based on whatever narrative fits the present day agenda.
So in the 20th century, the Nazis' main goal was to prove that Jews were not white, rather an inferior race to be wiped off the face of the planet. In today's media, Jewish people are boxed in with white oppressors, facing harmful stereotypes of media control, greed, and even outdated blood Bibles. Jews have passed down our community values of education and hard work generation over generation. Oftentimes, we are perceived as overrepresented in the media and in the workplace in proportion to our population percentages, which are 2% of America and only 0.2% globally. Lesser known is that Jews experience poverty at a higher rate in the United States than the national average. 15% of Ashkenazi Jews live in poverty compared to 12.4% of the US population. Jews experience the most hate crimes of any other religious group in the United States as well. I feel stuck in the middle with my Jewish identity, not falling on either end of the spectrum. I definitely would not be welcome at a white supremacist meeting, but I'm also not included in mainstream DEI efforts. So how should employers recognize and accommodate the complex religious, racial, and ethnic diaspora of Jews? The Jewish population is so small, it is difficult for our collective voice to be heard. Our right to gather, express our ideas, and convene needs to be protected, just as any other minority group. Regardless of your opinion on international events in the United States, we must acknowledge everyone's constitutional right to freedom and expression. As previously mentioned, the Jewish people are a diaspora and not a singularity. We have different beliefs, identities, and perceptions. One does not speak for all. Enabling conversations and environments in the workplace where everybody is respected, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, or national identity, is when we prosper and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Just to kind of add on to that, I guess I can just maybe ask another question to you. As far as accommodating religious diversity in the workplace, I think we had this conversation kind of outside in the lobby. How do you feel about, obviously, like, there are federal holidays that we, I guess, celebrate, and there's also religious holidays that are recognized by employers. There's one coming up, Easter, or even the big one, Christmas. If you're not maybe a Christian and you don't recognize those holidays, do you feel like, not just being Jewish, or if you're a Muslim or anything, do you feel like there are certain holidays that you guys should be afforded? Or is it unfair that, your religious background isn't properly represented in the normal workplace? Or how do you feel about that in general?
Yeah, so I recognize that Jewish people are a minority. Like I said, only 2% of the American population. It would not be fair to everyone to shut down the entire workplace for every given holiday. That being said, being cognizant as a manager or someone who is in charge of organizing events could be important. So maybe don't host that big meeting on Yom Kippur, or don't do that big event. Be cautious of your Muslim employees during Ramadan, that they might be fasting, mood changes, different things. Don't have that big brunch on the first day of Ramadan. So not necessarily shutting down everything, having a national holiday, everyone goes home, because I think the theme of this is reasonable accommodations, not sweeping generalizations, because not everyone practices, as I mentioned, Jewish people, we are a diaspora. We do not all practice in the same way. Some fast, some don't, some go to temples, some observe at home. It's a very individual basis, so know your team, ask questions, and react accordingly.
Absolutely, that was a great answer. And I think it's just the communication aspect of it. If you're open and honest with either your coworkers or your employer, I think there's a respect factor where if we kind of share our background and hopefully there's a mutual understanding, I think things like this, we can coexist in the workplace, which I actually kind of see today where I'm at. Like, we recognize our differences, we recognize and respect each other's cultures. You spoke on Tyler being Muslim, and I have a coworker who's Muslim, and it is Ramadan, and he can't eat until before sun up, or he has to wait till sundown, and it's just, you're very mindful of that. Like, you don't want to eat in front of this person because they're probably struggling. They're probably hungry. But all power to them because I know it's very tough to
Y'all can
fast.
eat in front of me, by the way. I just want to put that out there. I'm not gonna let nobody starve. We can go.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Lily, for that. So next on the list, we have Jade. Let's find your question here. I'm kind of all over the place. Okay, Jade. What is important to you when it comes to finding an organization to work for?
So what's important to me when it comes to finding an organization to work for is, well, obviously diversity. I don't want to feel kind of out. One of the things that I really look for is that I'm going to be included, which is, the main thing. But also people will understand like where I come from. So there's a lot of information about, natives that some people know, some people don't know. I would just like maybe like a general information, and then when you also find out more things, because there's a lot of stuff, you don't come to me or be like bad. Like there are some bad things that you could come and say to me. So just kind of being like, I want the place to be very inclusive about what to say to me, what not to say to me, because some things can be very offensive, and I've had to deal with a lot of offensive sayings to me before. So just when I find somewhere that's just very nice and I know that they're going to be inclusive and that I'm going to feel as one with everybody.
Thank you for that. So let's just get back to what it really means to be diverse and inclusive. In the past, I've worked for companies that showcase D&I. They talk about it a lot. But at the end of the day, all they do is maybe attend a few cultural events around town and print off a bunch of diversity t-shirts. A lot of us don't really understand what it means to kind of embody that. To be honest, myself, I used to be a chair of a diversity group for a former company, and I kind of did the same thing. Oh, there's this dragon boat event at Lake Norman. Let's get everybody together. Oh, we're diverse. Let's go volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, but hey, wear my affinity group's t-shirt because you're a part of this group. But really, what does that mean, right? I'm not really driving and promoting what it means to be diverse. So to your response, Jade, I think it's particularly difficult to find a place that would include all of what you need. Obviously, you'll work somewhere and you might not like it. You might get offended. They might treat you a certain way. You'll find a place that, it's a great place to work. They're all inclusive. But my question to you would be, how would an employer, what would an employer have to do to make you really feel like, okay, they are super diverse, they are super inclusive, and I feel really comfortable in this work environment? What do you need to see from an employer?
I feel like it's not that they have to work super hard for it. It's not that you have to constantly be thinking about it, everything. It's kind of like it just has to be done. So like acting instead of more of saying. So instead of just saying we're diverse and everything, you kind of like act on it. But like you don't have to do like a bunch for it. Just like maybe like utilizing your resources like social media and things like that, posting about it, just kind of giving a shout out, like knowing so that people know that they're wanted and that they're, a part of the organization that they're a part of.
Absolutely. So just to add on that, I think just recognizing kind of your employees and the people that work for you. If you give them, like Jade said, maybe a quick shout out, maybe a small celebration or little acts like that, it does go a long way. It makes your people feel appreciated, and they would definitely want to continue to work for you because they do feel not necessarily validated, but they feel like this is a place that they can enjoy to continue to work for. So thank you for that, Jade. Another round of applause. All right, save the best for last, I suppose. Miss Alexandra. Okay, the question for you is, and do you have multiple questions here? No, just one. Sorry. All right, how how do you believe employers can effectively support individuals facing language barriers in the workplace while ensuring their skills and contributions are valued?
Okay, so you can hear me. I feel like I don't even need a question. I have so many thoughts that I want to share very briefly on, everything that has been said. I will get to that question, and I will be very brief, I promise. So what Jade said about organizations and what kind of things organizations can do in order to maintain a talent that is more diverse within their organization. And I think the first thing is that the right mindset within the organization, within the culture of that organization. And it has to be an open-minded mindset and always asking questions. For example, I'm curious now, Jade, what exactly I am not supposed to say to a Native American woman so she doesn't start fighting with me or something like this? Because I can say how many times I've been asked if I'm a spy. I moved from Russia 10 years ago, and I quite rarely go back to my country. But you would be surprised how many people, high-profile individuals, VPs, ask me if I'm not a spy. There's also another stereotype that I'm not going to mention about Russian women. So things like that, open mind within the culture, making an effort, because that's what it takes. It doesn't have to be, the diversity is so huge. There's an abundance of diversity, really. But having that mindset that you are willing to listen and ask questions. So going back to the question that you asked me, I would like to start with kind of ground knowledge about immigrant professionals. Of course, it's my own story, but I work with hundreds of Eastern Europeans here in the city. And we go through a series of barriers. Legal barrier is number one, super stressful. Our paperwork is not confirmed. We're not sure if we are a part of this society. It's a very challenging time. Language barrier is huge. I did not speak English when I moved to the US 10 years ago. I did have some sort of basic knowledge, but again, it was not enough in order for me to be myself. A charismatic, fun myself. You would be amazed how language barrier affects your psychology. I've seen super educated, PhD degrees, master's degrees, and they have that language barrier, and that psychologically affected their confidence and the way they were selling themselves in the labor market here in America. And of course, employers should be aware of that part, is this individual not sure about her or his skills because he or she is not qualified enough? Or maybe she is struggling with a language barrier and legal challenges, and who knows other challenges that immigrants, homesick, whatever, go through. Maybe that affects their confidence, not because they're not qualified enough. So, and I see that cultural barriers are a huge part of what our professionals are going through. So, in terms of working with immigrant professionals, and I'm an immigrant, but I'm also an American citizen. What kind of things companies can do? So, of course, you have to be aware of those cultural barriers, language, legal, psychological barriers, and allowing individuals to express themselves, just giving them a little bit more time and a little bit more patience. And of course, once you understand that there are language barriers and cultural barriers, just allow yourself, be patient with that individuals and allow them to open up. It takes longer. Another thing, fun fact about, I mean, probably everybody knows about it, but Eastern Europeans are kind of closed, like people. We Russians don't smile. That stereotype is kind of true. We have very sour face, and we are very straightforward. You got product, I got money, let's do business. So we are not kind of attuned to, hi, how are you doing? How y'all doing today? Oh my God. Yeah, so that's very unnatural to us. So again, if you are interacting with an Eastern European and you see that they are sour and insecure and kind of cold, just give them a little bit more time. Give them a little more time. I don't know. That's it.
Just to comment on, you said you just learned to speak English for about 10 years ago. So you know how the saying goes: if someone doesn't speak perfect English, it's because it's probably their second language. So more than likely, they probably are smarter than you. Because I couldn't, go to Russian and speak Russian. Like it's not going to happen. So good job.
No, you're right. But again, when you speak those two languages, you don't think about yourself, oh, I'm so smart. You think, oh, my English is so terrible.
Yep, so, I'm sorry. All right, we're getting off track. So just to add, I just need to ask you, I guess, a complimenting question to your first question. You talk about language barriers, you talk about, employers maybe not having confidence in this person because of their, maybe poor English or their English is not so well. Do you think, as an employer, or as maybe someone interviewing a prospective employee, is there some type of, bias that you would have or employer would automatically have because of, your ability to speak the English language?
Wow, that's a great question. Absolutely. So, of course, as a professional in the US, and I've been working and living in the US for 10 years, I've been through some situations when I start speaking, when I used to actually, more than now, but I would feel how I would kind of simultaneously perceived as not smart enough, not capable enough. You never have those situations when people are like, oh, sorry, your English sucks and you don't look like you're capable for this job. It's hard to talk to people with language barriers and their accents and everything, so of course it makes things more difficult. But again, going back to what you said, there is a bias when simultaneously people think of you as not as smart, not as capable, not as experienced when you have that language barrier.
Absolutely. So this kind of leads to a question. I don't know if we're doing employer questions now or so anybody if they want to volunteer. So I had this come up in my previous job, kind of about we have these unconscious biases and we pretty much have to answer a questionnaire and kind of think about how we feel and what our points of views are. And I answered these questions and I did not know that I was unconsciously biased. I leaned a certain direction. So how do we overcome that? How do we remove that from our mindset? It's a very difficult thing to do. Just leading back to the language thing, I work with several international employees and super smart, like PhDs, probably 4.0 GPAs, but the communication was not there. So obviously they had the skills, they had the talent, but we couldn't communicate in a way that was essentially effective. So for a time, I would feel like, oh, I don't want to work with this person. They're just hard to work with. But if I were to give them a task to do, they would 100% complete it, do an amazing job. So to your point, I think as employers, we need to be patient with these type of employees, but also to recognize, okay, although we don't fully understand each other when we speak, they do have the skill set that is necessary to be effective in the workforce. So this leads to maybe somebody in the audience, an employer. Have you guys had a situation where you had a pool of resumes, strictly looking at their education and their experience, and the names are wiped off. You think that's an effective strategy as far as bringing on potential candidates without, one, knowing their name, two, even knowing their gender, but also just making a decision based on their work experience and their kind of educational background? Anybody? Oh yeah, sure. Can we have a student comment first before? Thank you. We have somebody in the audience?
Hello. Oh, wow. Hi, my name is DeAndrea Scott. So I did want to comment on having the names off of resumes. I do think that could be a good step in the right direction. My name is DeAndrea. My full name is about anywhere from 20 to 25 letters long. I think unconsciously you'll see a name, and if it fits in with a certain ethnic group or a certain diversity group, you don't necessarily go, oh no, I'm not gonna read that resume, but you do store it in the back of your mind. I've done it before. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other employers here that have done it before. So when you're looking at names and you go, oh, that clicks with this ethnic group, or oh, okay, that's probably someone I've seen before, or I've heard that name associates, even not in the job space, if I'm going to an event or I see something or I see a name where, oh, that I could show up and that person will probably look like me, sometimes I feel more comfort or more safety going into somewhere. So taking away that subconsciousness that I think everybody has might help go, you know what, this person is completely qualified, next stage. Or, no, this person doesn't have the qualifications that we were quite looking for at that time.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. To your point in the comment you made, when I first graduated UNC Charlotte, I swear I submitted about 50 resumes, and I swear they passed me up because of my name. They just didn't want to deal with me, or they figured, hey, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm just going to overlook him. And I do have about 9 more letters in my first name. I just truncated it to make it easier for everybody else. So just go by Sam now. So just by saying that, I think in this day and age, you know, to Kiara's point, it is 2024, we should recognize the cultural diversity in America. We should not be biased based on, you know, somebody's name or their background. Just a funny story, at one of my previous jobs, I was working with a vendor and we solely communicated over email. And it got super confusing and I was like, hey man, you know what, just call me. I emailed him. So he calls me on the phone, my office phone, and I pick up. I'm just like, hey Brian, how's it going? And this guy is like, whew, thank God you sound normal. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he said that. I'm like, dude, listen man, I was born in Ohio, I live in Charlotte, I'm American. Here's how you pronounce my name, so on and so forth. So there's still people who, I guess, would think like that. They see like maybe a foreign name or a name they don't recognize, not a non-American name, they have these thoughts, and it's definitely hard to overcome. I mean, we're still working on that to this day and age. I see a lot of organizations out there kind of fighting for that, the whole diversity and inclusion thing. We're trying to promote diversity in any way we can, not just race, religion, or gender, obviously disabilities now. Or national origin. So I think we're definitely moving in the right step. We're not where we need to be, I believe, but we are making progress, and you know, any progress is definitely better than no progress. So that's just my little spiel. Oh, we have a question from employer?
Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Allen, back here. Just wanted to speak to the question you just asked. I'm a Niner alumni, go Niners, graduated a couple years ago. And go Niners. I think it is very, I think it would be defeating the purpose of DEI to take names off of resumes. your name is who you are. It's your identity. It's the first thing people can identify about you before they know what you do, where you sleep, what, any of that stuff. So taking it off of the resume is almost dehumanizing you as a person, as a potential employer, as someone who went to school, as someone who is represented at that table. So I believe that leaving your names on there, honestly putting your entire name should be the standard. Because I'm an immigrant, I am African, I'm Black, I'm not even American. But you know, when I go places and they ask me what my full name is, I'll tell you what my full name is. I've learned to do that because it's like, I don't need to shorten anything else. Like, you have to, if you want to hold people accountable, you also got to put yourself there. Like, I'm going to tell you what my full name is. If you can't say it, that's okay. If you ask me how to say it, I'll tell you what it is. But leaving names off of resumes just to look at the accomplishments and achievements people have made, it's just like, those achievements are just what they are, achievements. And you can find an achievement on the internet, but once it's attached to a name, it becomes that person's achievement and not just words on a piece of paper. Thank you.
Good question, bro. Hold on. What's your name?
Yes, what's your name?
So my first name is Oluwalope. Middle name is Jonathan. My last name is Aloe. Thank you.
All right, can everyone hear me? Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Matthew French. I go by he, they pronouns. So I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Manager at Piedmont Airlines. I want to thank you all for sharing your stories, and just one comment first is sharing these things with your employers as you interview is really important for all of us. It helps DEI make the case for why we're doing the work we're doing, because the talent, you are the product to a lot of orgs, right? You are the folks that we want in our doors. So if you voice those things while you're interviewing, it helps us out a lot on the DEI side. The other question I have is, being in diversity, equity, and inclusion and working with a lot of DEI professionals, and being in aviation, which is not super diverse, is people hear DEI and they're immediately combative. They're closed off a lot of times. And there are a lot of orgs that are pulling back on DEI. Tech has been hit really hard with DEI being completely let go. So a lot of orgs are reframing. So at Piedmont, we're doing community and belonging. It kind of is language that we're using to decombat people, but still doing the same work of diversity, equity, and inclusion under that umbrella idea of community and belonging. So as job seekers, whenever you all see something like community and belonging, instead of diversity, equity, and inclusion, would that change the viewpoint of an employer that you're looking at working for or interning for?
Me? Yeah. So, for me, it is a matter of, at least from a disability standpoint, it is very hard to literally find community in the workplace because there are so, like my specific disability, less than 3,000 people in the United States have it. I think I might know one other girl who lives in the state who has my exact condition. So it's entirely a matter of community and inclusion doesn't resonate, at least with me personally, because I can't really even have that. My community would literally be my employers. For me, community is like, oh yeah, we're gathering people together. We're making sure that everyone has someone like them or someone who's of their same race or ethnicity or ability or even orientation. And it's so important that employers understand that community is 100% an extremely important thing, but in some contexts, it can nearly sound infantilizing. Especially when it comes to, oh yeah, sure, look at us, we're such a cute community. And then it's, when you see someone who looks different or is part of a minority, those people will naturally tend to hang out with other people of that same minority because it's naturally comfortable. Sometimes it's even safer. For me, I am naturally always on defensive mode if there are no other also a matter of I need to make sure that I am going to be listened to, and it's like, whenever I'm in a room, if there are other minorities, I feel safer with those other minorities, even though I'm white, because I know that they are going to take me more seriously, especially because I look young, I'm cute. So it's trying to figure out that community is so important, but in certain contexts, it can completely derail what you're supposed to do. Because a community can either be everyone has actually equal opportunities, everyone is treated the same, there are equal amounts of Black people, Asian people, white people, indigenous people in your company, or, oh yeah, sure, here we have these 5 disabled people that hang out in a corner. Basically, things like that, so yeah. But that's a very good question, and I'm very, very glad that you asked that.
Hi. The term ESL, or English as a Second Language. If you talk to my students, I refer to them, by the way, as multilingual speakers of English, because for many, and I would actually hazard to say most of my students, English is their third or maybe even fourth language. Although, by the time they're ready to move on and enter PhD programs, enter graduate school, begin undergraduate careers, their English is every bit as good, if not better. So just a point of interest when you're thinking about people who are learning English after their native language, it may be their third or fourth. So, anyway, thanks.
There was a little traffic jam there. I'm going to stand up because this is the way I was taught public speaking. So my name is Lindsay Talmadge. I am the HR manager at Adam Power. Our founder actually graduated from UNC Charlotte, and we're located in Huntersville. We are an engineering and manufacturing facility, and the first two things when you think about with engineering is white male. Another thing that you think of with manufacturing is white male. I came from a construction background, once again, white male. To the panel, how would you like, especially human resources, which is commonly called the people team now, how would you like for us to support you, first of all, within the workplace? And how would you like for us to support you? Whether it is with ADA accommodations, whether it is with religious holidays and exceptions, or whether it is accommodations for language, making sure that our handbook and our policies are not only in English, but also for language that you can understand, but also language that you will be able to help us out with. Thank you.
Got you. I'll speak to that. First things first, again, thank y'all. I'm very glad to see all y'all faces in the crowd, man. I just want to say that again. It means a lot. So I want to do a quick shout out because I see my mentor right there, my two mentors, Mr. Cynthia and also Mr. Keith. Thank you so much for all your help. Give it up for them. Also, shout out to MSC. When I first got here, a real quick story. When I first got here, like last semester, I'm a transfer student. I got a part of the MSC, and they put me in this amazing leadership program. That's another reason why I'm here today, because of their hard work and put me in the right position. And also, that gets into your question, because I'm actually doing a HR internship this summer, thanks to my wonderful mentor. That's why I said you guys had to clap for him. Thank you so much. So I would say the biggest thing for me, I always try to take an optimistic approach. I think that the HR team should always be the optimistic group, because, you know what I'm saying, because they have to always be understanding a multitude of different perspectives. The biggest thing I would say to help us, especially as young adults entering the workforce, is to help us in terms of putting us in leadership. Let's say this, just leadership, not leadership roles, but leadership programs. just be able to understand what it is that we would need to do in terms of not just leading ourselves, but even leading a small team. So being able to give us those resources, as well as giving resources in terms of understanding like mental health. I think that plays a big aspect in it, because a lot of the things that I heard today are more so psychological things in terms of like, you know, somebody not give you the job because you're this race, somebody not give you this because you look like this, somebody discriminate against you because of your name. It all goes to a psychological thing, because at the end of the day, HR, what you can help with is you can't turn back the tables of what happened, but you can give everybody that comes to you that chance to look forward. So just providing those resources in terms of mental health, leadership, in terms of mentorship, allowing that to happen. Because I think that a big thing that everybody on this panel could really attest to is that when you get inside of an organization or get inside of a group or anything else, you would like a mentor to at least show you the ropes and be able to, you know, that you can voice your opinion to. Because at the end of the day, it's just a psychological thing. Usually those that have that experience or who have been in the company are always going to get that voice. And to have a mentor that listens to you, they're a liaison to amplify your voice. Because again, you don't have the experience, and you also don't have that certain knowledge or that certain, you know, acclimate as they do to be able to voice, to give your voice and to ultimately be heard. So mentorship program, leadership program, mental health resources, and yeah, maybe a couple of bonuses. I don't know, throw something in. Make it worth my while, please.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's one more response to that question from
Yes, the same question, and I wanted to address it from the standpoint of an individual who works with hundreds of international professionals here in the city. So we do understand the great demand in the engineering industry and construction, and as well as nursing industries as well. We know that economy of the United States will be able to sustain itself by employing international professionals. Manufacturing and engineering specifically, so in terms of engineering, for example, as you are human resources professionals, you need to understand that the international talent pool perhaps won't be as beneficial due to challenges of accessing into the industry a variety of different certificates, right? So we have doctors coming to this country, but they can't become doctors because it takes 10 years. So the same with engineering, it takes a variety of, you know, but in terms of manufacturing or construction, for example, how would a company be able to attract that talent pool, that workforce for them, is by investing by community organizations that provide workforce development programs for international professionals. You don't have to do the work that others already do. Like International House organizations like International House or Latin American Chamber or Eastern European Chamber. So many organizations in our town, community organizations, already provide those ESL classes, workforce development classes, certifications, trade schools. There are many trade schools and more are happening. Like Goodwill, for example, just have a new department within their trade school as well. So I would say investing in community programs, connecting and building relationships with community organizations.
I also wanted to point out, whenever he mentioned mental health, so including like mental health resources as well for, I'm going to speak personally, I know that Native Americans, there's a thing called like, was it generational, like mental illness as well, but to add to that, we're more susceptible to addictions. So a lot of the time when I go home, you'll find that a lot of us are addicted to a lot of things. We're also more susceptible to diabetes. So there is a lot of things that go on underlying issues.
Yeah, super quick, wanting to add to what companies can do, really, not just some of these things that seem up in the air. I think a lot of times DEI overlooks groups that are perceived as privileged minorities, let's call them. Like I said, Jewish people, Asian people, etc. And I think, like I said earlier with my poverty statistic, we don't dig beneath our preconceived notions to see what these groups that are perceived as overrepresented are going through. These are gross overgeneralizations. Across the board, I think DEI really operates on gross generalizations, and I think we need to dig beneath our preconceived notions and see where the need is, what individuals need, what communities need, dig beneath that to see. So when you're making these DEI programs, keep that in mind. Keep in mind your coworker, your friend, even your family member who might be from this overrepresented minority group, and are they really a part of that privileged part, or are they experiencing something deep under? And really keep that in mind when you're structuring your programs, your HR, your hiring, and your retention.
I guess I'll go next. Hi. The one thing that has stuck with me for the past few weeks is that there was an advertisement that came out promoting inclusion and uplifting people with Down syndrome. Some of you might have seen it. The entire motto of the campaign is assume that I can, so maybe I will. With me, I can't do so many things without assistance. Once I have that help, I can do it and go above and beyond. That can apply to nearly anything. You have an employee coming from a low income place, they might not have the highest quality education. Assume that they can learn what you need them to learn, so that maybe you can teach them what they need to learn, so that maybe they can get that job done. Maybe there's a woman who is planning on having a baby after she gets hired by you. Assume that she might still want to work after her maternity leave, which will hopefully be longer than 3 months, and give her the opportunities.
With pay?
Huh? Yeah, with pay, please. And assume that if you give her that time, that she might recover and come back to work for you, so that she will, without having to sacrifice that time with her child. Maybe assume that someone who can't speak English can learn English, so you'll teach them English, so they'll become fluent. It is entirely the mindset of assume that we can, so that maybe we will be able to. Like for me, I accidentally joined the robotics team. I don't know how that happened, but it did. I'm a communications major. I thought that, no, I can't do anything in STEM. And then I showed up, and I was like, wait, maybe I can help. So they gave me something to do, and they taught me a lot. So I ended up helping and going to the IEEE, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers competition in Atlanta. That was great, by the way. We got in the semifinals. But without help, so many people wouldn't be at UNC Charlotte. So many people wouldn't have jobs. It is with help, not like the Savior way, but genuine, like thoughtful help, that we can excel. We can do above what anyone thought we could do. It's that entire mindset, assume that we can, so maybe that we will, is what drives, I feel like, Generation Z and Generation Alpha, and anyone who is of any minority or disability or marginalized group ever. So just keep that motto in mind, especially when it comes to helping us, because it's so crucial that underestimating is literally an underestimation of that term. You can underestimate someone to the point where, yeah, sure, they do some things, but who knows if they might go on to get a PhD later. So yeah, just keep that motto in mind, assume that I can, so maybe I will.
Thank you. I think we know who won the most passionate response award there. So thank you, Kiera. That was awesome. And I guess your question led on to a full attack by the panel here. So I think we have a few more questions from the audience.
No worries.
Oh,
Let's talk that as well.
my mentor.
Yes,
Hi everybody, my name is Keith Ferguson. I'm with MSC Industrial Supply. I'm a talent program manager. I like to call myself a human capitalist, and I have my director of diversity and inclusion here as well. First, I want to thank the panel for you guys being extremely brave to share your experiences with a lot of companies here. You guys actually have our ear. I want to just touch base real quick on the gentleman who spoke on this end, and the gentleman talk about owning your name. I look at probably 1,000 resumes probably cross my desk. And I do want you all to have ownership of who you actually are. Lily, I think you make a really strong point. I look at the organizations people are a part of. To my case, and what we practice here at MSC, that's an add-on. It's an add addition. And what you're looking for, and you guys have the power, when you're interviewing with these companies, the biggest thing is not just us interviewing you. You have the opportunity to interview us. And it's a top-down approach to how we tackle diversity. And if our leadership isn't actually owning that, it won't reach the bottom. So you're talking about a culture that needs to be shifted in these organizations. And it's not just, obviously here in our country, we have that can be sprinkled out to the entire world. But the statement that I want to ensure that you guys ask, when you guys are interviewing, and you're sitting down with these executives, or you're sitting down with these hiring managers, ask them the tough questions of how you guys are moving the needle. Ask how are you impacting your community? How are you leveraging the resources that you have to move the needle forward? You guys are the next generation of leaders, and you listen. You guys have a lot of power, and written information system gives up a lot of power. So I just wanted to give you guys a notion, and Tyler did a great job.
Thank you.
Greetings. Due to too much activity and defy gravity, I'll be sitting down. My name is Joseph Graham Jr., and I want to applaud the panelists. I am an alumni here of UNCC. I'm also a professor here. I teach the challenges of doing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, in religious and institutions. And as well as I have a consulting company called Equity on Everything, where I partner with institutions as well as companies that want to improve or even establish DEI work. So I have layers of reasons of why it was important for me to come. And a mentor of mine told me a phrase called, if the context is wrong, the conclusion will always be wrong. And what's important about this discussion is, if we look at history, when it comes to people who are marginalized, people who are oppressed, and people who have been disenfranchised, we cannot allow the terminology to overshadow the desired reality. Meaning, right now, DEI is under attack in many different ways. And sometimes we can get so attached to the term that it becomes a sophisticated distraction to actually stop the work that needs to be done. And so when you all begin to talk about the historical context that each of your groups represent, that was so key, because there can be no progress if there's not understanding how that particular group is disenfranchised over periods of different generations. It may be multiculturalism in one era. It may be called woke in this era. It may be called consciousness in a different era. But the reality is, we're dealing with people who are suffering through disproportionality and disparities through systematic oppression. And the only way you can undo systematic oppression is create systematic ecosystems that create equity. And so I applaud you all for expressing those things. And I just want to encourage all of us who are employers to really pay attention to that as well. And don't get me wrong, I believe that people should own who they are and dictate that and state their name and their claim. But we also, as employers, have to be cognizant of the atmosphere that of the networks we're in that are going to go against that. Because, you know, one thing, and I've never been a money-hungry person, but I've learned to respect, follow the money. When we look at Dr. Martin Luther King, having the boycott touched funds, which changed everything. I say that to say that people can do programs, but until policy and procedures change, then there is no incentive for the mindset to change. And one of the panelists said that. It is about a mindset. I like the idea of, no, we're not going to erase the names, we're going to state the names, because if it's about us respecting everybody, don't tell me to eliminate a part of who I am so that you can honor me. I'm not going to enable you in your lack of human respect and dignity. So I just want to applaud and appreciate and look forward to networking when this is done.
Thank you for that. That was very, very powerful, so I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate the student panel. Just to recap, it's hard to recap everything we talked about, but obviously leading back to the names. You are who you are. Your name is who you are. Never, ever compromise that for anyone, anything, any job. I mean, I might sound like the bad guy, but you have about 40 employers here. There's 400 more around the city of Charlotte. There's 4,000 more around the state of North Carolina. There's 4 million jobs out there in the United States. So if an employer that you're seeking to work for doesn't fit, your needs or what you feel as comfortable for you, I mean, don't sweat it. Don't stress over it. There's always the next job. There's always the next job, but find a place where you feel that you're well respected, you can excel, and you can definitely make an impact at that workplace. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that.
Maybe we gotta give it up for Sam. Did we guys have him? Shout out.
Or just FYI, this was a blank piece of paper up here, so I was just, I was just speaking from the mind. So appreciate that, thank you. And I believe Jessica wants to make some closing remarks.
So thank you, Sam, and I love his little bit of humor that he brings. But I wanted to also give a shout out to Jonathan. He was on this side of the table once for me. He was a panelist for the panel for international students. So thank you for coming. I didn't know you were going to come, but shout out to Jonathan. But I wanted to, so sorry that this extended over the time that was on the agenda, but I wanted to make sure that you asked your questions and the panelists were able to answer. But let's give another round of applause to the brave panelists. Thank you so much. And now we're going to transition into networking in the lobby. There are light drinks and there's some snacks and cookies. So I'm going to ask the panelists and moderators to stay on stage for just a few minutes to take some pictures. And they will meet you out there so you can network and ask them additional questions. But thank you so much.